Hey everyone. Yes, before you ask, my bed sheets are currently in the wash, so that's why this bed has no bed sheets. But that's not what this video is about. Actually, today's vlog is about a decision that I think now that it's been 6 months after a purchase, I think I'm starting to regret. And it's because every now and then I still pick up this, my iPhone XS Max, and just every time I pick it up, I just grow to miss it more and more. And I've started thinking, you know, I've spent a lot of money on this iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'm actually still in the process of paying it off, but details. But the point is, I spent a lot of money on this iPhone 13 Pro Max, and my biggest justification for it was the camera features and such. I wanted to experiment with them a lot, and actually, at least in this current time frame, I haven't been doing so. I haven't really used any of those extra exclusive 13 Pro camera features that I can't get with my XS Max, for example. Okay, I've been using the ultra-wide lens, which, yeah, this phone doesn't have. But outside of that, there's not much advantage of using the 13 Pro Max camera over this because the quality I found appears to be very similar, even though a lot of the videos that I've been releasing on the internet actually have a slight color correction in it. I'm not too sure how corrected it is, but I like to add a lot more saturation because I love color. I don't like flatness. I love color, so that's why I add a lot of saturation to a lot of my videos. I try to make sure I don't go too overboard with it to the point where it just looks so fake, but I gotta add the color. I just love color. It looks better in my opinion, and I make these videos. Videos are a work of art, and the way they're made is all up to the artist. I'm the artist, so I decide. And I thought to be an artist, you have to have some tools, and this is a tool that I thought I was going to use, but I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm not really taking much advantage of that, and I keep second guessing myself as of why should I have gotten the 13 Pro Max instead of still sticking with the XS Max, because it's fine, it does everything I need it to. The battery has degraded over time, yes, that's the case with every single smartphone. It's an older design, okay, maybe it's a tad slower and such. The refresh rate on this is 60 Hz, it doesn't have ProMotion like my 13 Pro Max. Okay, yeah, it's got that. This iPhone has a better design notch in my opinion. Yeah, I actually prefer the notch on this compared to the 13 Pro Max. Call me weird, but I do prefer it. And then just holding this too. And then just holding this as well. I prefer holding this over the 13 Pro Max. And it's not because, oh, this is 0.2 inches smaller, because there you go, smaller screen equals better phone. No, guys, that's not how it works. Biggest screen or nothing. That's how it works around here. But it's the rounded edges of this phone that just feels so right. And so every single time that I pick up my 13 Pro Max, and that's the phone I'm using as my daily driver. My SIM card's currently in that. I use it for filming. I'm using it to film this video, obviously. Otherwise, how the heck am I holding my XS Max here? And yeah, I've used it for everything now. Basically, this has stayed in my room on my desk. Occasionally, I charge it. Occasionally, I use it as a camera when I need to have my 13 Pro Max in the shot. But there's something about the 13 Pro Max that just doesn't feel right. Every single time I pull that phone out of my pocket or take it off the charger in the morning, the best way I can put it is, even after 6 months of owning this phone, it doesn't feel like my phone. The iPhone 13 Pro Max doesn't feel like it's my phone. It doesn't feel like it's a phone for me. But every single time I pick this up off my desk, it feels like my phone again. I feel like, yeah, this is the phone I should be using. And it's kind of weird to explain that. I got some friends who are like, oh, you have to have the latest and greatest. Anything before that, it's obviously an inferior device because the latest and greatest is going to have the best tech and such. And yeah, being a tech enthusiast myself, I have to agree, latest and greatest, yeah, you're gonna get the best technologies of everything because it's the latest and greatest. But that's the tech enthusiast in me. Despite that, yeah, I like having the latest and greatest every now and then, and that's how I like to buy my products. When I buy it, I like to buy it brand new. And at the time I bought my 13 Pro Max, yeah, it was towards the end of its life cycle, right before the iPhone 14 series came out, but I still bought that brand new and I was really happy with it. But that's kind of the tech enthusiast in me. The tech enthusiast in me is kind of irresponsible. And I say this because the tech enthusiast in me wants the 13 Pro Max because it's newer, it's got that I love ProMotion. I do love the ProMotion on my 13 Pro Max. It is awesome. But other than that, there's two different sides to me that are kind of tearing me apart in this regard. I've just been going through this dilemma where one side of me, the tech enthusiast side, is saying, this is your phone. It's the latest and greatest. You bought it brand new with your hard-earned money. Keep it. It's your phone and it's new, so it's good. good. But the practical and more, can I say, lifestyle part of me, the more me, my true self, doesn't actually want that. I've noticed with the brand new M2 Pro and M2 Max MacBook Pros that just came out in January, sure, that now means my M1 MacBook Pro is not the latest and greatest anymore. And having the latest and greatest MacBook Pro for a year, that was pretty cool. And I could say, hey, it's the latest one. It's the best one they've ever made. No, that's not true anymore because they've now superseded with that. And the tech enthusiast in me would kind of like to have the new latest and greatest MacBook Pro because, well, duh. But the practical and more realistic, more real side of me doesn't actually want it. Despite that, yeah, I like having the latest and greatest of things. I don't want it. I'm perfectly content. And I realize, I mean, even if I had all the money in the world, I could buy the 14 Pro Max, even though I absolutely hate the design of that because, oh, the notch is way better than that pill hole. I'm sorry. And Dynamic Island does not make up for it. I could save up for that if I wanted to, but honestly, I just don't. There's just the side of me that, yeah, I love new tech. It's cool and all, but it doesn't feel like it's designed for me in a sense. So that's kind of the dilemma I'm having right now. It's just, now that I've had the 13 Pro Max for 6 months and I've basically only had this on my desk as a paperweight, but also the occasional camera when I need to include my 13 Pro Max in the shot, or, well, this is just more practical to use. I think looking back after that 6-month purchase, I don't think it was worth it. I don't really want the 13 Pro Max anymore. It just doesn't feel like my phone. I'm perfectly happy with this. I still love this so much. And the reasons for it are, it's fine. Yeah, a lot of tech enthusiasts, especially some of my friends right now who are probably watching this vlog, you guys probably think I'm crazy because this phone is not as good as the phone I'm currently using to record this vlog. Honestly, I don't need it to be that good. Well, yes, I do use my phone as a camera, and that's why I wanted the 13 Pro Max in the first place, because it's got an impressive camera, as much as I hate looking at the back of that thing. It's got that ultra-wide lens, it's got 4K ProRes, it's got that cinematic mode, along with the whole suite of other stuff, like a higher resolution selfie camera, which allows me to record 4K at 60 on the selfie cam, though this vlog is recorded in 1080p because this isn't supposed to be the high production channel. That aspect of it makes it feel like a work tool, but that's kind of what I think of the 13 Pro Max as. A work tool. What about my personal tool? And because it's work, it doesn't really feel all that personal. This phone may not be as good as the 13 Pro Max, but me, my personal self, what I need out of a phone? Well, I mean, yeah, the camera's not as good because it's not as flexible, but I use the 13 Pro Max in mostly the same way. There's not much of a difference on how I use it. And so looking back, yeah, I could still probably get away with this camera just fine. And so because of that, I truly miss this phone. I don't think that I should have bought the 13 Pro Max because I don't use it any more differently from this phone. And there's just so much about this phone that I prefer to the 13 Pro Max. The design, 3D touch, the rounded edges, the notch, this feels like my phone. 13 Pro Max, it doesn't feel that way. The 13 Pro Max doesn't feel like my phone, but this does. And for some people, that's going to be hard for them to get over the fact that, yeah, this isn't as good of a phone, but I don't need it to be the best at everything. All the processing power that the 13 Pro has, I don't need it. The A12 is just fine for me. The battery life on this may have degraded, but honestly, what I probably should have done is just get a replacement, because batteries degrade over time. That's just natural. And the cameras on this are still fine. In fact, they're much easier for me to look at. So I just keep wondering, why was I so excited to get the 13 Pro Max in the first place if I'm not going to use the features that I thought I was going to use? I don't use the ProRes aspects because I can't deal with that. I can't work with that file size. It's way too large. That, and it also forces HDR mode on, and HDR is really hard to correct when it screws up because, oh man, it screws up real big when it doesn't get HDR right. I also don't use cinematic mode. I've tried to get it to work, except I never actually got cinematic mode to work. But then again, I've only attempted it once and I haven't really tried it again, but that's because I like recording at 4K at 60 frames per second. Okay, I'll do 1080p every now and then, but it's still at 60 FPS. Cinematic mode only does 30 FPS, so I guess I would probably use it more in skits per se, where, okay, lower frame rates are actually more suited. But still, I don't use that phone any more differently than this, and it doesn't do things the way that this does, and I much prefer the way this does those things. A12, it's fine. Battery, I can just get it swapped and I'm back to 100% battery health. Camera, it's fine. The phone itself is fine, and I don't need it to be more than that. So I guess this is the lesson that I want you guys to know. When it comes to buying a phone or any new gadget at least, don't buy unless it's not actually working or if it's actively slowing you down. If it gets to the point where your phone is actively slowing you down, say, like maybe the battery has degraded to a point where you have to plug it in every 3 hours or so. Some people end up using their phones that way. Some people end up using their phones to the point where they have to plug their phone in every single hour. That's got to be inconvenient. Again, a battery swap can fix that, but as long as whatever tool it is isn't actually slowing you down and is just fine, then there's not really much incentive to upgrade or replace it. A simple battery swap, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to get rid of this. It's because the battery doesn't actually last as long as it used to. It's still fine, but I basically get this way closer to zero in a day. Well, my 13 Pro Max, I basically end up putting it on the charger at above 50% every single day because it's so hard to use that battery. So yeah, a battery swap would have instantly fixed the issues I had with this because I've used my phone a lot more often. Maybe because I'm a little addicted to it, but still, I use it as a tool, not just for entertainment, but I use it to engage with you guys. I use it at work constantly because that's how integrative smartphones have come into our lives. It's now a work tool that we can't live without at this point. So that's basically what I want you to take away from this vlog. Don't upgrade your tool. Don't replace it if your current tool is still working just fine or if it isn't actively slowing you down. This was never really slowing me down that much. The battery was still usable. It still is usable. Cameras are fine. Processing power is fine. The display is fine itself. So yeah, there was no need for me to replace this. And I feel like I've just wasted money that I could have put towards the Tesla or actually my car, Red Fox, because oh, my Red Fox has been really grabby with my wallet lately. More grabby than ever. Now, I'm not going to sell the 13 Pro Max because actually I still have to finish paying it off, but still. That, and I don't like to sell my devices because I'm trying to collect them per se, but yeah, that's the tech enthusiast in me, so I can't sell it anyways. So I'm still going to use the 13 Pro Max, but every single time I pick up that phone, I'm going to constantly feel this regret because it doesn't feel like my phone, but this one does. I never should have left this. I shouldn't have. Alright, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is Alpha DeWolf, Random Alpha, signing out.